Hi everyone, this is Dr. Dilmar. I have a video here for you today that will cover the ins and outs of the course, some expectations, and give you some tips for being successful in the class. Of course, I hope that I will cover everything thoroughly for you, but if you have any questions or concerns or you just want to check in, definitely reach out to me at any time. Just a little bit about myself. So I can't talk. I am a professor here at Hdmc, and I teach mainly algebra and English. And I've been doing it for a few sessions now, so I'm pretty familiar with the English course itself. I'm a wife. I'm a mother of two adult children who both are in school as well. The one thing that I think about me that's relevant to what we do here is that I went to school later in life. I did not get a degree until I was 30. So, and I had two kids by that point in time. I was working full time. So I definitely empathize with life and school and work and how all of that plays together. So I try to be really empathetic and supportive so that you can accomplish your goals. But at the same time, you are as stress-free as possible, if that's a thing. So I will try to work with you as much as possible, but I also want to make sure that we honor our course objectives and our school's mission and vision, and that the outcomes land where they are, and so that way that you're prepared for your future career. So together, I know that we'll accomplish great things, and I am really happy to be on this journey with you and to be a part of that pathway for you. I do enjoy helping people to be able to meet their goals, and I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader. This is a 4-week class, so it moves pretty quickly. In fact, it's already started and it's Thursday, so you're a few days in. I see a majority of you have already started on your work, so that's good news. And we'll cover some of the different assignments and the way it's laid out here shortly. Because this is a pretty brief video recording, I don't want to belay the point, so I'm just going to jump right into a few things. If I speak quickly, the good news is this is a recording. You can just pause it or rewind. I will try to be as succinct as possible, but clear. And again, like I said, you can always reach out to me. You will have noticed probably by now underneath my office hours that even though we don't meet weekly, live and in person, I'm happy to hop online or text with you or do a virtual meeting if we need to. If you're struggling or you need me to help you with something, just let me know. So what I like to do first is go over just kind of the course structure and what to expect. You'll see here I have the student preview on so you can see how the course is laid out. And I will expand. You have the little button here that opens and closes your folders. So by now you should have definitely looked at the introductory folder. You have an about your professor or instructor section. And it says it's not available because this is what progress tracking is on. So essentially as a student, you have to click on one thing and go through it all the way so the computer knows if you're scrolling. So once you open one folder, then you go to the next, then the next, then the next. So it's progressive. So you, and of course, as a student, I'm just logging into this with the preview on, so it won't open yet. But for you, you'll just open course information, you scroll and read, then it allows you to see the next section and so forth and so on. So in your introductory folder, the things that you have here, and we're going to wrap back around to that before we close out on this video, is the syllabus, your acknowledgement, the integrity pledge, and an introductory discussion board, which is really just for you to drop in a little bit about yourself. I do believe in building that learning community. Research says learning is social, and when you build that partnership and familiarity with those around you, it will help you to succeed. Of course, that looks different when you're asynchronous, which means not live and in person or not live. So it looks a little different to build that learning community. You have to really take the time and you have to think about the ways that you have to connect with one another, your tone, your inflection for typing. So it's kind of appropriate that this is a written communication class and we're doing a lot of writing to communicate. So just consider that, make sure that you give a little bit of your time and effort towards being cognizant isn't, that you are also trying to make connections with those that are on this journey with you, because chances are you're going to be in classes together and you never know when you're going to be able to help each other out. So the welcome introduction board is just to set the stage for who's in the class. And then we move right into the units. So what I will cover with you right now is that there's 12 units. This is a very quick 4-week class, and there's 3 units per week. So you've got units 1, 2, and 3, then 4, 5, and 6, then 7, 8, and 9, and 10, 11, 12. And the class ends on the 30th. Very easy, right? So what are you going to find in these 12 units? So I'll go back and give you an example. So there's basically about 3 types of assignments in this course. It's pretty routine from week to week. The first thing is within the 3 modules, within the 3 units that you do per week, there will be 1 discussion board. You have to make an initial post and 2 replies. I believe I posted an announcement already to tell you about the replies and how they should be thorough. You should be making connections. You might say things like, I noticed, or I wondered, or I wasn't sure about this, or what did you think about that? You're adding value and you're extending the conversation. You're going to go beyond a good job, I agree, in your reply. So a post and 2 replies every week, 4 discussion boards, 1 per week. So within unit 1, 2, and 3, there's a discussion board. Within units 4, 5, and 6, there's a discussion board, and so forth and so on. You're going to have 1 quiz for each week. So within the units 1, 2, and 3, you'll have a quiz. Same thing with 4, 5, and 6, a quiz, 7, 8, and 9, a quiz, so forth and so on. Then you're going to have these McGraw-Hill assignments. You click on this, you don't have to pay for it. You already have access as a student. This, which is chapter readings and basically like online worksheets and quizzes, this is all happening in the McGraw-Hill website. So that website is separate, but these links take you directly to the assignment. Once you're in the McGraw-Hill website, you can navigate it, so you can go to the assignments page and see all the assignments and work directly from there, or you can click directly to each assignment from this website. They, in a sense, talk to each other, but once you click on that link and you get into McGraw-Hill, you could technically go to the assignments page and just complete all the assignments from there. You don't have to go to the link to get there. It's just an easy way to take you directly to what assignment is due. And then you also are going to have a written report, and you'll see here written report number 1 within unit 2. So within units 1, 2, and 3, there's a written report. Within units 4, 5, and 6, there's a written report, and so forth and so on. So that's essentially the 3 types of assignments that you're going to be completing throughout this course. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about just things to know and how to navigate these assignments. So I'll go back up to the top. Discussion boards are completed directly here within Blackboard. You click on it, you read, you answer, your grade comes from me in Blackboard directly. The gradebook in McGraw-Hill is not anything you need to worry about, because only the gradebook in Blackboard is what matters. So the discussion board is completed directly in Blackboard. I grade it, your grade's in Blackboard. Too easy, right? Your grade for the McGraw-Hill assignments. So those assignments, those grades, import themselves almost kind of automatically into Blackboard. Anytime one website talks to another, there can be errors. In fact, there most often is a few glitches and things like that along the way in almost every class that I've found. So for example, I already found out this week a couple of the assignments the grades did not import automatically, and I had to go back in and add them manually. So if you ever see something like that, you're not bothering me, just text me or email and say, for example, hey, handbook number 3, the grade didn't populate in Blackboard. Chances are I needed to know that, and I'll fix it for everybody, which is great because you helped everybody out. Or maybe I already knew and I was in the middle of fixing it. Either way, that's how you and I are a team, and we communicate with each other to make sure the grade book is updated. But I promise you that I'm aware of it, and I'll be looking out for those things. So the handbooks, the chapters, those are all completed in McGraw-Hill, and the grades go into Blackboard. Same thing with the quiz. The written reports. The written reports, you are uploading a document into Blackboard. So there's a drop box where you click on the written report number 1, and you're going to upload your assignment. So you do that in Blackboard, and then I grade it in Blackboard. Do not write directly into the assignment box underneath the written report, because that is not a formal reporting mechanism. You are writing to learn several things. One, content. Yes, you're learning how to write content, how to write formal papers, with tone and with word choice and things of that nature. But most importantly, you're learning the MLA formatting. And so a majority of your feedback is going to be on MLA formatting and following instructions, to be quite honest. And you can't do that if you do not do it in a written report form. So you have to do it in some type of Word document, or you can use Google Docs and drop the link. I posted some tips today, quite a few tips on things you need to attend to, whether you're using Word or Google Doc to submit your assignment. But I will tell you that the written reports, number one, those tips that I uploaded is pretty much where everybody loses points, from a little to a lot. So please make sure you read that announcement that I posted today, and I believe I sent it to your email, of things to do when you're doing your written report. But just know that that formatting is important, because that's one of the skills that you're learning. The written reports and the discussion boards count for the most amount of weight. It's a weighted score. And so you definitely do not want to miss any of those assignments. So essentially, those assignments that I just covered, you're repeating that every week until the end of the class on the 30th. I do want to bring your attention to the last week and the way the dates are set up. You'll see that it says June 30th at the module. That's kind of just like a visual cue to you that things are ending. You'll see the written report is due on the 30th. The discussion board is. I did put the 29th for the McGraw-Hill assignments, because there is a time zone difference between you and me. And sometimes the time zone gets kind of funky. You see it says 8:59 here. So I put the 29th just because I wanted to make sure that nobody had the class close on them, because some of this is automatic. And so I felt like if I did it on the 29th, and something slipped by you, you would have a little bit of a buffer there. So that's just to make sure that you get cued in to do those assignments before the class closes, because obviously some things are controlled by technology and the school and course designers, and I just don't want the class to quote unquote close and then you don't have access anymore. So I will remind you once more, at least when we get to the end, that those assignments in McGraw-Hill should be completed by the 29th. So let's talk about some ins and outs of assignments. First of all, course designers make these assignments. So if you have issues with something, don't feel bad about asking me for clarity, because I don't mind answering that. I'm a facilitator for much of this. And so if you struggle with something in McGraw-Hill, or there's a quiz question you didn't agree with, or maybe it counted off points and you didn't think it should have, I'm not offended by that. Just let me know. I do tend to curve quizzes and things of that nature because of certain instances that have occurred similar to that. So again, open communication between you and I is important. As far as in late work, generally I just say you don't even have to ask, just turn the work in. That's what I want you to do. You're learning by doing the work. And so I don't want this grade to just be a reflection of how good you are at school and managing your time, although that is a part of it. But I do want you to complete the work, because you're being exposed to the curriculum and the content. And so, of course you can check in with me, but the answer is going to be yes, you need to turn in the work, because I want you to do that. A 0 is terrible for your grade, and I want you to pass, and I want you to have the experience. So pretty much just know that I'm going to work with you. Of course, though, when we get to the 29th and the 30th, then the class is going to end and grades are due. So the if you put yourself in a hole, just remember it's going to be hard to dig yourself out of it. And so when you get to the 29th or 30th, I can't give you too much of an extension, because here's what happens at the end of the class. So while I'm flexible, I want to caution you to turn in your work, because if the class closes and I turn in grades and you haven't completed the work, then you have to get remediation, and the highest grade you can get during remediation is a 70%. And so you wouldn't want to do all of that work and go through the 4 weeks just to get a 70. You really want to get a higher grade than that. And honestly, nobody should in this class with less than an A or a B if you're doing all the work. And so if you follow instructions and you turn your work in on time, you'll make an A. You just need to manage yourself and govern yourself accordingly to the schedule. But definitely don't dig yourself in a hole with late work and then you get to the end and it's hard to finish. The other thing I want to share with you is that written reports sound scary, but they're really not. Honestly, guys, most of the written reports are like 1 to 3 pages, double spaced, and one page is about like a page and a third. I always say a page and a third because you lose some of the landscape of the paper because of the header. So if it says 1 page, you have to write 1 page in a paragraph, but that's really nothing when you're double spacing. You could probably write that in your sleep about anything. So do not get scared by, oh my gosh, I have to do a report, because it kind of sounds worse than what it is. It's really a very short essay. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you? As far as in, let's see, the grades, we went over the grades, the reports. I just can't stress enough the tips that are dropped today about the reports. MLA formatting. There's lots of resources. I'll show you the one that the school has. I dropped one today for you, the Purdue OWL resource. And then you also have your LIRN library, which is your Learn library. Super great tool. It might not show. Oh, there it is. This right here is such a great tool for students. The school pays a lot of money for you to have access to a live librarian. Will you need it for my class? Maybe, maybe not. But I'm sure you'll need it in some of your classes. So just know that that's a tool that it does cost a lot for the school to provide that. It's a very worthy resource because you having access to a live librarian that you can interact with is super cool. So just know that that resource is there. And then for the MLA formatting, I dropped that Purdue OWL and a sample paper today that will help you with your written reports. So I did want to go and just show you this. So at the top where it says content, to me, that's kind of the heart of the class. That's where I would live most of the time if I were in this class as a student, because it has everything listed out for you in order. I mean, you literally just go down, right? And then you just open your file folders. And then the announcements, of course, are important. So you can see I've already posted 3 announcements, one about the discussion board, you're welcome, and then the MLA formatting today. Before we close out, I do want to just bring attention to the syllabus and the integrity pledge. I'm going to actually go out of student view if you'll give me a moment here. So that I can show you that. All right, so first of all, you got your syllabus. You can download that and keep it handy if you'd like. It probably goes over 90% of the stuff that we've already, not probably, it goes over, some of the things that we've already discussed with one another. But I did want to just bring your attention to the outcome. So this class is going to help you. Written communication is not just about what you do in school and writing reports. It's also about communicating at work, about getting a more professional tone, being able to work with conventions of writing, following instructions, formatting. And there will be times at work that you might be working on some research or some type of presentation or paper or something of that nature, what they call white papers or one-pagers for work. You might go into research, you never know. So this really is the basis for a lot that you will be doing with communication, even just writing emails. When you practice written communication, it helps you with that work, and it helps you to be a more well-rounded writer. The book, of course, is free. It's the McGraw-Hill book that's linked, so you don't have to worry about that. And then there's things like the grading scale listed for you, and then the percentages of the weight of the class, of the assignments. So some people are always like, oh, I've done all these assignments in McGraw-Hill, but I have a 70. Well, yeah, because you didn't turn in 2 papers. So you can't just skip the papers. You can't skip the discussion boards because they weigh pretty heavily. So you'll see here, I mean, there's only 4 quizzes, right? That's 25% of your grade. There's 4 written papers. So if you don't do the 4 written papers, the highest your grade will be a 70. So pretty much you have to do the written assignments and the discussions to pass the class. So those are things just to kind of pay attention to. And then I already talked to you about late work, but I do want to talk to you just about integrity and plagiarism. So obviously the school, expects you to conduct yourself in a certain manner. Here's what's going to be monitored by me, and what is kind of new. It's really new for your generation, and that's the use of AI and plagiarism. So plagiarism can happen intentionally or unintentionally, but it's kind of like driving and breaking a law while you're driving and you didn't know it was a law, and you tell the officer, I didn't even know that was a rule. And he's like, too bad, you're driving, you're still responsible for it. It's the same thing with writing. Unintentional plagiarism is still plagiarism. My job is to bring awareness to this for you and to help you start garnering some skills in that area so that you're prepared when you go to other classes. And so the use of AI, I know, is prevalent and it's growing every day. Please don't AI an assignment and copy and paste it into your paper. It's going to be clear as day that you've done that. It is challenging to have to weed through that for papers. Definitely AI can be a tool that you use to incorporate into your assignments. We incorporate them into the creation of assignments. But you still need to make sure that if something is asking about your insights and your opinions, etc., you have to be the one that provides that information. If you write the way that AI writes, it's going to be clear that's not your writing, right? Like I tell my 24-year-old all the time, if you write like I would write as a 50-something-year-old professor with a PhD, and you're writing the same way that I am, somebody's going to say, wow, this girl is like wise beyond her years and has so many experiences, or she cheated. So AI is that. You can't just copy AI and call it yours. You do need to make sure that you're using it as a tool and not to do your work. So you do want to make sure that you avoid plagiarism. The mission of the school is to make sure that we help you to be successful in your career. We don't have a lot of live sessions where I can go into all the examples where you're going to be able to probably use this kind of work in your profession, but I can promise you that the analytical skills, the critical thinking, just the scheduling and the organization, writing, being thoughtful about your work and what you're turning in. All of this does help you in the future in your career field, and that's what High Desert is trying to do. They're really trying to make sure that you're ready for those maybe higher level classes and your career itself. And of course, their core values start with integrity, and that's where you're trusted to do the right thing when it comes down to things like plagiarism. We want you to be creative and have ambition. That's what I'm here for, is to be your cheerleader. And teamwork, obviously, is one of the core values. And that's the one that I really believe in because, again, learning is social. You construct the world, you construct your learning based off of what we do when we interact with one another. I love enhancing other people's opportunities, and I hope that you will participate in that because if not, life would be boring, and who would want to just go through a class by yourself, right? It's kind of cool to be able to unpack ideas and challenge our thinking by interacting with one another, and that's where the teamwork comes into place. So that is one of our core values at Hdmc, and I hope that you see that I am trying to live that in my work, and I hope that you do that as well. So this has been almost a 30-minute video already, and so I'm not going to belay the point. That was the syllabus. And again, that was in that opening section there for introductions. I hope that I've made the schedule clear for you and the expectations clear. Every week I'll be dropping a few things. The final thing I want to tell you is, and of course I'll put this on the announcements too, is even if you make an A on an assignment, always check your feedback, because sometimes, especially if you do really, really well on a written paper, but you had like something really minor that you needed to fix, I might give you 100 because I'm not deducting points for that minor thing. Or you might get a 97. I don't know. It depends on what mistake you've made. But I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that that mistake was there, because I wouldn't want you to go into another professor's class in the future and then them say to you, well, what about this or what about that? And you're like, oh, Dr. Domar didn't even tell me that that thing was wrong. So always check your feedback just in case there's something there that's valuable. And I hope you all have a great evening. I am going to be on the road tomorrow morning, just not too long, just a couple of hours, but I'll check back in over the weekend. Of course, the weekends are probably when you're hot and heavy doing the work, but I'll try to answer any questions you have. And then for sure, I'll be back online Monday on the computer. So I hope you all have a great day and rest of the weekend. Ciao.